It is a very hot afternoon at the circuit. Marco Simoncelli at Misano on the Adriatic coast. We've got a packed grid of cars north of 45, 46 cars will be assembling on the grid. A lot of drivers had their times taken away from them. The heat haze is still there, but on the front row we've got Mercedes lockout. Luki Benyeth will be starting from pole for the NM Racing team. And a Codis ASP put one there as well. 32 degrees track temperature, nearly 30 degrees air temperature. It's warm. There's an afternoon breeze though that is very, very welcome coming in. But let's go down and hear from the driver who'll be starting second. It's Jim Pla, the number 87 of Codis ASP, Mercedes with Gemma.
Jim, you've already done the GT3 race. Is that not enough for you?
Doesn't look like, yeah. It's really difficult weekend for me. Switching from GT3 GT4 is not easy, and also with this heat today. So yeah, but we have to do it. We did a good comeback in GT3 from last to P10 at the end. So it's 1 point. It's still good for the championship. Now we are focused on GT4. We are starting second. The car looks good, but now they changed the bob between quali and race, so we will have less engine, less power. So let's see what we can do with that. But yeah, quite confident.
You mentioned the heat there. I mean, it's about 30 degrees in the air temperature, but inside the car it's more like 55, right?
I think it's more or less like 55. So like I said, the GT3 is fine because you have some fresh air with the BOA, but in GT4 you have only the air condition, but it's not really working really well. So yeah, it's quite tough.
Have a great race, thank you.
Well, the two races with contrasting elements, starting from the back in the GT3 and from the front row in GT4. Great looking little Alpine there. Antoine Leclerc will be starting from well up the grid. That's the lead Alpine qualifier. That's in 7th place overall, showing with Loic Villiger. Antoine Leclerc. Already, the drivers don't want to be in the cockpits until the last possible moment, but there's a point at which they have to be strapped in. They've got an hour of racing ahead with the mandatory pit stop between 25 minutes and 35 minutes into the race. You can see the umbrellas floating above some of the drivers' heads, just anything to keep the heat off the cars, even some covers waving around there. But what you can see is most welcome. You can see a breeze coming in off the coast, and certainly it's cooler than yesterday when it was 35 degrees. Hideous. But let's go down and hear from Gus Bowers, who took victory in the first two races at Imola. He's back in Italy. Maybe he can do it all over again. He's with Gemma.
Gus, obviously starting down here, 8th on the grid. You've got quite a few cars to pluck your way through. Coming into that first corner, what's the goal?
Well, the goal is just to make it through. At the moment, we're in a great position in the championship, so we just want points this weekend. I think we're lacking a little bit of pace, but that's absolutely fine. It's all part of the game. Constantine did a great job in the Aston Martin, and the team, Racing Spirit of Le Mans, have just been excellent. So yeah, just make it through turn 1 and heads down from there for sure.
It's quite a narrow circuit being designed for bikes, and it gets quite scrappy in GT4, right?
Oh, for sure. There's always a fight in GT4, but that's why we're here, isn't it? So, but no, like I said, there's definitely going to be some on-track battles, but like I said before, it's all part of the fun, really. And as long as you're enjoying it, then what's not to love?
Have a great race. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So Gus Bowers having a great championship, but I want us to pick up on something that Jim Pla said. The balance of performance, the BOP has been adjusted between qualifying and the race. Bear in mind we've got Mercedes first, second and third on the grid. That will be Luc Ibanez, Jim Pla and Simon Gachet. So maybe won't have such an advantage, and those behind might have a chance to get a jump on them in the race. Less power down the straights could be a real problem, but basically at Misano it's tight and it's twisty, so maybe here of all places it won't hit them as hard as they've been hauled back into the pack. It's the nature of GT3 and GT4 racing to keep all the manufacturers involved. The balance of performance, if one make of car deemed to have a bit too much of an advantage at a circuit, then they get hauled back in. But anyhow, starting at the front is the best place to be. The best of the rest is Vincent Adronico, who's having a really good season for Allied Racing. He qualified 4th fastest. So looking very good for them. Well, let's go down. We're looking at the number 22 Allied Racing Porsche. Let's hear from Andreas Mayel, who is teammate to the driver who's on board. That's Vincent Adronico. Let's hear from Andreas.
Andreas starting from the second row down here, of course, with the Porsche. How tricky is it to overtake here?
Well, it's quite tricky. It's a short track, very fast one. Especially the first corner, it's tricky because it's tight, but we give our best. Let's see how it works.
And how well is the Porsche performing in these temperatures?
Well, of course, with the turbo, you have a bit of an advance. We have just a normal engine without turbo, but we will see.
Thank you very much. Have a great race.
Thanks.
So yes, another different way of doing things, different engine performances. There's Jim Pla strapped in. Just got to remember it's GT4 now, not GT3. They might both be Mercedes AMGs, but very different performance potential and handling performance. Obviously, the GT4 cars have much smaller wings, fewer aerodynamic aids. But this is always a challenger in this class. So Jim Pla will go first and hand over to long-time teammate Jean-Luc Bobelic, all French pairing. You can see the Bobelic Industries sign writing on the end of that rear wing. But on pole position, it's the number 15 NM Racing Team Mercedes, Enzo Giuli, and the driver who will start, Luc Ibanez. And in fact, in the second qualifying session, Enzo Giuli took pole for tomorrow's race as well. For NM Racing Team, didn't start the 2022 season well, but coming on really, really strong. And there is Luc Ibanez. It's Nils Montserrat's team, all Spanish, fiercely faithful to Mercedes, and pressing on to see what they can achieve. Hot conditions, nearly 30 degrees, but that welcome breeze, it won't help the drivers in the cars. It makes it a little nicer for those on the grid. But once those doors are closed, and you heard Jim Pla saying temperatures go up to the mid-50s, that is hideous. And no wonder the drivers take a little time to adjust when they get out of the cars. And we're racing here at Misano till gone 9 o'clock tonight. The temperatures will drop, but not at any great pace once the sun starts going down. It's hot, all the heat is sunk into the tarmac, into the big pit building. You can see the modern extension, which was ready for last year at the pit in end. And I can tell you, the paddock behind those pit buildings, absolutely crammed, all the way down to the turn 14 hairpin. It's a big paddock, but with so many teams, championships, drivers' cars, transporters, it's a very, very full place indeed. And when you see the racing here, don't only think of this circuit, Marco Simoncelli, as a place for bikes. It's a place for cars too. But of course, by its nature, it's narrow. And back in its early days, it ran in the opposite direction. This would be looking down towards the first corner, but instead we're looking at turn 16, the final corner in the background. But gradually people starting to leave. Car 26 is down on the back row. The grid didn't set a time. Cyril Salai and Benoit Lisson, Team Full Motorsport. That Audi should go forward. Clearly a problem in qualifying for them. They did go out in the second qualifying session and will be further up the grid for tomorrow's race. But right now, it's looking ahead to an hour of action. It's all about keeping the drivers in the car as cool as possible in these final moments, the countdown to the start of this 1 hour race. Toyotas, Aston Martins, Mercedes, Audis, and many others beside. McLaren's a bit further down the grid. They're not at the front end at the moment, but the 570S is all set to be replaced for 2023 with the Artura, which is under severe testing at the moment. But at the front, it's those three Mercedes, driven by Luc Ibanez, Jim Pla and Simon Gachet, that will start in the top three positions. But as the 1 minute board goes up, the engines go on. You can see there's a Porsche starting from fourth, Vincent Andronico. Then there's an Aston Martin, Tom Canning in fifth, and another Porsche, this one from W&S Motorsport, with German racer Hendrick still on board. And just remember again, Jim Pla pointed out that the Mercedes have been given a balanced performance adjustment that's not in their favour. So fastest three in qualifying, they may not get the top three positions in this race, but still a lot can happen between now and an hour from the start of the race. Drivers will go round in about 30 seconds, set off around to take this 1 hour start. They'll follow the formation lap behind the Audi pace car, and then they'll come round turn 16. They'll look at the lights on the grid, on the gantry, going from red to green. Right, clear. Let's hope all the engines have fired up. The marshal running to that gap in the pit wall. That will then be closed as the field is led away. Green flag lap here at the circuit, Marco Simoncelli. Here's the order as the grid runs around on this formation lap. It's the number 15 Mercedes from NM Racing, leading from pole position, and we're about to run down the grid. Here it is, Luc Ibanez, fellow Mercedes racer, but from the Acodis ASP camp, Jim Pla on the outside of the front row. Then comes Simon Gachet, also from Acodis ASP in his Mercedes. The best of the rest, the Allied Racing Porsche in fourth place. Tom Canning, the best Aston Martin driver, in fifth. Hendrick still in sixth for Porsche. Top Alpine driver, Arthur Leclerc and Konstantin Lachenauer, he and his teammate already have 2 wins from the 4 races so far. Alexander Hartwig, Jean-Baptiste Mellard, then the V8 Racing Chevrolet, that will be starting 11th, so a quarter of the way down this packed grid. Expect an arrival towards the front from Alex Fontana in the Century Porsche Ticino Porsche, and the best of the Toyotas, surprisingly, all the way down in 16th. Certainly a car with more potential, so look for Antoine Porty. Mike David Ortman starting 17th in his Pro Sport Aston Martin. That is a disaster because at the last round they turned up and won both of the races, so they have a mountain to climb. Very, very busy, very, very hot for all the drivers. I didn't mention it in 12th place overall, Safronov and Weintraub for NM Racing Team. Does that sound familiar? They took pole in the AM class and, of course, pole overall, also going for NM Racing Team. And plenty of great names. Verdonk and Beltoise in 26th and 27th. Adam Carroll, former GP2 runner of the front end of the field. He's in a rather old McLaren, 5 years old, he was telling us at lunchtime today, so he's expecting a replacement. In fact, talking of stepping up to GT3, but you have these duels all the way down the field, and one mate that's just not got it together here has been BMW. Will Burns way better than being down. You can see there's a whole gaggle of them, 34th, 35th and 36th on this packed grid. It's 40 plus cars. Another Greystone GT McLaren in 37th. That's Alain Valent back in the team. And then we've got a couple of Team Full Motorsport Audis you'd expect much closer to the front of the field, and one of them bringing up the rear of the field, having not set a time in practice in qualifying at all. Christophe Bourret, Johan Boris Shire right at the tail of the grid, and then Julien Lambert will start the number 26 Audi, 45th and last. This track just over 4 kilometers in length, 16 turns within the lap. There is scope for overtaking, but just remember when they go onto that rolling start, the run from the rolling start to the first corner is one of the shortest in international motor racing, and then turns 1, 2 and 3 come thick and fast. If we can get 45 cars through without as much as a touch, a scrape or a spin, it will be an absolutely remarkable result. So while the front runners have the easy job of going through, the ones in the middle order are the ones who have to take the consequence of other drivers maybe being where they don't expect them. But we're not wishing for any trouble, but I'm just saying it could be a factor. The lights are out on the safety car. That will peel as they leave turn 15, the penultimate corner. That will peel in the pit. There goes the Audi. Now it's 3 Mercedes at the front, then a Porsche, then an Aston Martin, then another Porsche. They are the top 3 rows. Waiting for those lights. We've had 2 quick throws from red to green. This one looks like it's going to be a bit longer. To green they go. Which of the Mercedes is going to lead down? It looks as though Luc Ibanez has got his nose in front. He's on the correct line into the opening corner, but you must say, bold start from Vincent Andronico, 4th to 2nd in his Porsche. Almost, that was an absolutely brilliant move from Andronico to go 4th to 2nd. Down the middle order, behaving very well indeed. Certainly tougher in the middle order. Not everybody gets to stay on the track, but the person who lost out was the driver who was starting 2nd. Jim Pla, perhaps the most fancied, has fallen 2nd to 4th as Andronico went the other way. Busy track. Out of turn 6 they go. On the infield straight, little kink at turn 7, then turn 8. Oh, one of the Borusan Automotive BMW's going very wide indeed, but down into turn 8 they go, and Jim Pla in that 4th place Matmut sponsored Mercedes having a little look to see if he could get up to 3rd. But now what we're having is a real attack. Luc Ibanez under pressure from Vincent Andronico, but he keeps the NM Racing Mercedes at the front. Behind you can see one of the Alpines going very wide indeed. Antoine Leclerc trying to force a Porsche a little bit wide to keep it behind him. I think that's a Hendrik Still car. Yes, it is, and Still gets back into position down the kinked back straight. Change in the lead of the race using a fabulous slipstream. That's exactly what was required from Vincent Andronico. He did it, and he made it work very, very well indeed. Wow, chopping and changing. But that bold move, a good toe through the kink at 11, the kink at 12, and then the move was made between turns 13 and 14 where the track really tightens up. But a poor exit from turn 16, and the Mercedes had the grunt to get back ahead. So Luke Ibanez can relax again. He's resisted the challenge, and now, in fact, the third place Mercedes is pushing. They've already got to lap a car that clearly had problems. Sansalot Racing, Anthony Beltoir's Audi keeping out of the way. Now, how opportunistic was it? For Andronico, did he just simply grab his opportunities, fourth to second at the start and then second to first at the end of the back straight, but immediately put back in place by the pole starting Ibanez? Down in the middle order, very busy again. Do I sense a little bit of body damage on the number 19? No, it's the way that Aston Martin's nose was glinting in the sun here at Misano. So what I'd like to know is, did Andronico make a poor exit? Did he run a little wide at the final corner, having just taken the lead, and then get a poor run onto the start-finish straight? But certainly Luke Ibanez back to the very front of the field by the time they got down to turn one. Now, maybe perhaps it will all settle down. Tom Canning was the driver who lost out in the early laps. He started fifth, remember, in his Racing Spirit of Le Mans. Aston Martin, he's fallen back to seventh. So Hendrick still in his Porsche, and Antoine Leclerc have moved up ahead. The middle order, very, very busy indeed. Number 12, Borissan Automotive. BMW, Will Burns at the wheel, very much in the battle, and a whole gaggle of Mercedes and Audis. This is what they come here for. Oh dear, another Borissan wide moment at turn 14. A little too much speed into the corner. It tightened up on the driver. So busy, busy, busy. But Luke Ibanez half a second to the good, or thereabouts, from Vincent Andronico. Looking to see who's making the moves is Adam Carroll. I think they're just double checking, bouncing over the curbs in the McLaren. Yep, indeed, the number 47. Driver of great caliber. So he'll be enjoying the form, enjoying the fun, picking up places. Indeed, he started in 27th, I think it was. 27th, he's up to 19th, so he's had many gains. His teammate Tim Whale will be waiting to take over, but you can be sure Adam will stay out as long as he possibly can. But what we're seeing on this lap is an escape being made by our race leader, because it was half a second on the start-finish line, but now Vincent Andronico has fallen back into the grasp. Now the pressure on the driver in second place is coming on fully strong from Simon Gachet and Jim Pla. That is a big, big job to keep them behind, so necessarily he's looking backwards rather than forwards. This is great news for Luke Ibanez and for the NM Racing team. They've got track position, they're stretching clear. The driver in second place has got a battle coming from behind. Luke Ibanez, their opening round at Imola produced a retirement and a 24th place, and a pair of thirds and a pole position and a fastest lap in the two races at Paul Ricard, and now leading here. Their series is back on track in the GT4 European Series. Simon Gachet with the yellow nose and the pink nose on Jim Pla's car, pushing, shoving, moving around, but these are pros from the top draw. Both teammates for Acodis ASPs, they've got to be careful, but they don't want to let Vincent Andronico get too far clear. He's doing a great job in the Allied Racing Porsche. They were with him, and now they're not. They're fighting too much among themselves. Fifth place, still Hendrick, still car number 38. W&S Motorsport, so good result at the moment for that team in behind the white Alpine. Let's take a look at the start. Here's the pack of cars, a pack of mere 45 cars in all. 3 Mercedes in the first 3 position. And chasing Vincent Andronico, you can see his aquamarine Porsche going around the outside of Jim Pla. Fourth became second, second became fourth. But in the lead, it was NM Racing team's grey and orange Mercedes with the pole starter Luke Ibanez in front. Yet, by the end of the lap, he was to lose the lead. There is the change coming at 13. As he tried to make a wide sweep in, couldn't get back across. The Porsche Cayman with Andronico at the wheel had got back in front, and now I've just actually seen how a terrible exit from turn 14 is why suddenly when they got to the end of the opening lap there was a change of position as Luke Ibanez went back in front. The replay's over. He's still there now. He's 0.86 of a second to the good, and he had an advantage that Vincent Andronico was dropping back to Simon Gachet and Jim Pla. They're fighting too much though over third position, so he's able to now start to try and reduce that lead. Set off after Luke Ibanez. Oh, bodywork damage for the number 55 Alpine Autosport GP. That's Jean-Baptiste Mella. Well, it's hardly surprising. There's pushing, there's shoving, there's rubbing. He's running alongside one of the third of the NM Racing team, Mercedes. Now, let's take a look. The gap was 0.86 of a second, but it's been a very good lap for the chasing Vincent Andronico. in second place, 0.66. He's taken 0.2 of a second. Here comes the move, the change of position. Jim Pla hunted down his teammates, and Simon Gachet back into fourth place. Now, let's see. Remember that Jim Pla was second fastest in qualifying. Can he set off after second place? Someone who's setting off all over again. Car number 138, the Alpine from JSB Competition, Julien Brichet. Little spin, so easy to do at Misano. Jim Pla already starting to open up a margin over Simon Gachet. Jim, so many years of experience in running Mercedes, and of course for many years Simon Gachet was an Audi man. Now we're starting to have potential changes for sixth place. Dante Rapanga, Dutch racer in the Dutch V8 racing team, Chevrolet Camaro. They always run a car that makes a grumble and a rumble. Just seems so much larger than the little Alpine, but certainly that's being driven very well indeed for Code Racing development by Antoine Leclerc, keeping it in front, holding on to sixth place. Now, looking at the intervals around that lap, is Andronico closing in? Not in the first third, he lost half a second, but the second third of the lap, he took a quarter of a second back, so he's still hunting different cars, different performances at different points on the circuit, much like this Alpine Chevrolet Camaro battle over 6th and 7th position. Tom Canning is just behind him in 8th. He's regained one of the positions he's lost. And in fact, he's lapping faster than both those ahead of him. Number 34 out of the race, Cedeslar Racing Team, one of their Mercedes, and Luca Bosco, Italian driver, feeling frustrated. Vincent Andronico set the fastest lap of the race last time around, took nearly a 1/10 of a second out now, almost a clash at turn 1. Certainly very bold from Antoine Leclerc to try and keep the big blue rumbler, the Chevrolet Camaro V8 racing behind him, but he made a bit of a poor exit from turn 3. Will that allow the Dutchman to go up the inside into turn 4? He's planned that for a while and he's made it stick. So good run from Dante Rapanga. And Tom Canning closes in onto their tail as well. Behind Tom Canning is another driver who's won races this year. In the opening race, it was Konstantin Lachenauer. He and his teammate Gus Bowers, we heard from Bowers on the grid, they had 2 wins in the bag and they're picking their way up the order. Albeit only down in 9th place at the moment. Those first two cars putting that little bit clear of the chasers, but now in clear air in 3rd place, having deposed Simon Gachet. Jim Pla is closing them down. He's 1.9 seconds down on Andronico, but he's making a charge. Whoa, very, very busy down in the middle order. And the Drago Racing Mercedes moving around in the track under Gabriela Julkova. She'll share with American Robert Howe. Down the back straight they go out of turn 10, hunting 1 abreast, 2 abreast, and the cars behind getting a very, very good tow. Places changing left, right, and centre. One place you don't want to be by and large is on the outside line, and that is where the 25 Aston Martin has found himself. But Nico Verdonk has many years on the clock of racing, has actually lost a position, but he's trying to gain it back. And Julkova just tucks back in ahead of them. Very, very busy stretch of tarmac. Antoine Poty still trying to make progress and is doing so. Only up to 16th place though. So drivers who sometimes found at the front show that nothing stands still in the GT4 European Series, and they're picking up the pace, trying to regain the order. And like almost all the races here, it's a 2-race meeting for both. And either day, Saturday or Sunday, it's going to be hot here. Certainly though, not as hot as on the Friday, which was pretty hideous. Those 19 and 10 Aston Martins, both from Racing Spirit of Le Mans, the 19 version driven by Tom Canning, and behind Konstantin Lachenauer, a double race winner. The opening round of the championship. They're down in 8th and 9th positions, not what they came here for, but they're looking in a fairly good position. And then the number 14 Audi is deciding to run a little wide. American racer Roy Meuha. Now, again, that was running wide on the run down. I think there's a puncture there, certainly slow as he gets the kink at turn 7. Was the contact, but didn't see the preamble to that. But for Roy Meuha, he's tumbled down the order. 21st at the start of the lap and much further behind. Now it looks like a bit of front-end damage on the Alpine there. Down towards the tail of this field. That's Alain Valent. No, it isn't, sorry. Number 28, it's not Alain Valent, it's Lagrange down in 33rd position. So it's got a little bit busy down at the back of the pack. It's also busy up at the front. This is Hendrick still holding on to 5th place. Dante Rapanga closing Antoine Leclerc also trying to close in. And then behind those 2 Aston Martins, Canning and Lachenauer. great manufacturer variety in GT4. We've got that Mercedes leading by 2/3 of a second from that's Luc Ibanez from Vincent Andronico in the best of the Porsches. Now it's out to 9/10 of a second, and the driver who's catching them, but last lap actually lost a bit of ground, was Jim Pla. So the Mercedes driver is still capable of closing in on them, but really Hendrick still is holding up a train of cars now. 4 cars tucked in behind, a Chevrolet, an Alpine, and then there's 2 Aston Martins. But this is all very good news for the drivers up the order, the top 4 runners. As Hendrick still delays a train of cars, it gives all the 4 cars at the front, the number 15 Mercedes, the number 22 Porsche, and then the 87 and 81 Mercedes from Acodis ASP. It gives them an advantage, a little cushion they can have, because of course the driver pit stops will be coming in. They can start in just over 12 minutes time. The pit window will be open for 10 minutes, but for these drivers up front, as long as these cars are falling away behind them, which they are just little by little, as they're stuck behind Hendrick Still's W&S Motorsport Porsche, that just buys them a little bit of time. Now starting to see behind the Aston Martins a bit of a close-in from Alexander Hartwig, the Dane. He's just catching them little by little. He's in 10th place. Mike David Ortmann started way down the order. He's a double winner at the last round, which was at Paul Ricard. But for Ortmann, it wasn't the dream start, down in 17th. He's moved his way quietly and efficiently up to 11th, and he's now hunting down Alexander Hartwig. They'll just about be in the background of your shot. Yeah, you can see the flash of the aquamarine Porsche, and then behind Mike David Ortmann in the number 24 orange and grey Aston Martin from Pro Sport Racing. Oh, huge amounts of pressure now on Hendrick Still. He's soaking it up. He's keeping for now, the Chevrolet Camaro behind him, but Dante Rapanga is pushing, he's shoving, he's made his way past Antoine Leclerc. He's pretending to go up the inside into turn 1. That wasn't a serious look. It was just a warning shot. I may consider it when I get a little bit closer, perhaps next time around. Luc Ibanez, a whisker under a second clear of Vincent Andronico now. And Ibanez running in the silver class, but Vincent Andronico running in Pro-Am. So he's leading his class with Andreas Mayol. We heard from Mayol down on the grid, but their season has been getting better and better. Jim Pla also in Pro-Am. He will hand over to Jean-Luc Bobelic. With no disrespect to Jean-Luc, it's the star in the car at the moment. Jim Pla will be the faster of those pairings. But like so many Pro-Am pairings, that's the very point of how this championship works. Likewise, Simon Gachet will be quick in comparison to teammate Eric Debar. And no disrespect meant there. Dante Rapanga, when he gets the pit stop, will hand over to Kenny Heremans. And Antoine Leclerc, in that little white Alpine, will hand over to Loic Villiger. But they're doing a fantastic job at the moment. Here's that battle. Still Rapanga, Leclerc. Leclerc's lost a little bit of ground there. Was there a mistake early in the lap? Not necessarily. A little bit down on those ahead. So maybe it's just tyre wear now that's costing the white Alpine. And interestingly, the battle just up the road. Oh, finally the move. Oh, Dante Rapanga's done everything he can to unsettle the car in front. The Porsche of Hendrick Still doesn't quite do enough, and Still did just enough to get round turn 16. It looks as though he'd almost been unseated. Again, a look from the Dutchman in the V8 Racing Camaro up the inside into turn 1, but he pulls his nose back out from where he put it and waits and waits and waits for another opportunity. The lead continues to stretch. It's little by little as Rapanga, still trying to take 5th place overall, tucks back in. Luc Ibanez, by the way, now 1.1 seconds to good over the Porsche of Vincent Andronico. Pit stop window opens in 9 minutes time. 9 minutes until the pit stop window opens. It's open for 10 minutes. Ooh, looks like we're about to have a place change between the Aston Martins in the background of the shot. Up front, though, we've got Luc Ibanez, 1.1 seconds good over this battle. And Vincent Andronico very much under the cosh now as Jim Pla has hunted him down from 2 seconds back. He's down to 0.4 of a second back. He's using a slipstream as they go down the back straight, falling away slightly. Simon Gachet in 4th place overall. He's 2.6 seconds down, in fact, almost out of the shot. First 4 have been stretching out. I sense before the pit stops we could have a change of places. We just had one from Dante Rapanga's point of view. He's now up into 5th place overall in the V8 Racing Camaro, the big car. got finally ahead of Hendrik Still. The next person to challenge Still in the yellow, black and white Porsche will be Antoine Leclerc in that little white Alpine behind the much larger looking Aston Martins. The advantages of Tom Canning and Konstantin Lachenau. Oh, not quite pushing and shoving, but dipping and diving and looking one way and tucking back in. That's the Alpine driver, Antoine Leclerc. But if he makes a slip up, not one, but 2 Aston Martins will come roaring past. But for now, he continues to try and work out where he can move ahead of Hendrik Still to take 6th place. Drivers will be feeling the heat in the cockpits of their cars. Just remember, Jim Pla reckons it gets to 55 degrees. And for the majority of these drivers, it will be an average of 30 minutes each. It could be 25, it could be 35, but any length of time shorter than that, the 25, or longer than the 35, means they'll have been in the car too long and they will be given penalties for not staying within the regulations. One incident under investigation is a clash between Yagis Gedik, the number 11 BMW driver. That car is down. It's a Borisan Automotive BMW back down in, look down, 29th position, and contact with the 138, which is the DSP competition car. Julien Brichet, we saw at the side of the circuit after a spin, so maybe he didn't spin of his own volition. That is under investigation. What is not under investigation is the lead between Ibanez and Andronico. The margin was 1.1 second. It's now 1.4 seconds and going out. And a driver who's now finding pace. Now he's got clear of Hendrik Still is Dante Rapanga. He's set his fastest lap of the race, a very good one too. But he's got to find 6 seconds to get up after 4th place. And 4th place, of course, held by the number 81 Mercedes. Cyril Salai started at the very back of the grid and unfortunately has found gravel deep in the dirt. Can he get the car out of there? He was down at the tail of the field necessarily after starting at the back, but I sense are we going to see someone who can get out, keep it going at low revs and get through the gravel trap, and then we may have him back in the race. But of course he's going to bring gravel back onto the circuit. That won't be everyone's friendly task for them. So they come to find it for the first time, and the race leader pulls clear to one side of the circuit. They've spotted that gravel. They've got eyes like hawks, and that was at turn 6. So down that short infield straight, they found a bit of gravel, and often when the car then brakes for the next corner, it deposits a whole lot more, which is at turn 8. A sort of double left-hander. We can see a car off at the side of the circuit, just inside the track at turn 10. But look how much gravel has been deposited there. So, oh my word. Just trying to work out which car that is at the side of the circuit. I'll get back to you on that one. It may have been one of the 2 Greystone GT McLarens, but I'll need a further look. But there is our race leader, sitting pretty. Luc Ibanez, 1.4 seconds to the good, 1.3 seconds to the good. It's coming down slightly. Vincent Andronico giving chase, but he's got company. He's got Jim Pla in that number 87, a Codis ASP Mercedes, giving him grief in the nicest way possible. Down to turn 14 they go. It's about getting the power down. At this point, it looks as though the grip is going away from the Porsche, and Jim Pla, maybe more experienced in these cars, has got the front end of his Mercedes to tuck in just how he likes it. So he's going to continue to push and to press, and Luc Ibanez will be thanking him. The Cyril Salai car has got going again. That's the car that went off into the gravel, brought the gravel back onto the circuit. Should have got rid of all his extra baggage at the moment, and then rubbing and pushing around the outside into turn 1. And Jim Pla, that is a move from experience, around the outside at turn 1. And then only just getting through turn 2. But Vincent Andronico realised he was beaten there, didn't try to make it too difficult, because that would have ended up with both of them going off into the gravel. Now what they have to do, of course, is negotiate the back marker. Cyril Salai, as he gets back up to speed, is in their path. Race leader Luc Ibanez has got through, so he's done a very good job. Now he can concentrate on his own race, or they both have to pass. Lights are flashing from Jim Pla. Third has become second. He may have a chance of getting into the lead of this race if he can close down the NM Racing Mercedes. Clear track now between them. Going to have again a look at the car at the right-hand side of the track. I think it's, the second Greystone GT McLaren. Adam Carroll is still circulating, so that'll be Alain Valent's car number 60 on the inside of the circuit, just between turn 9 and turn 10. Safely out of the way, though. Dante Rapanga in the 5th place. Chevrolet's really dropped Hendrik Still. He's gained 2.5 seconds on him. And the pack behind, just outside the top 10, slipping and sliding, going out towards the gravel. One person's problem would become someone else. But look how Rapanga, having got past That bright yellow and black Porsche, driven by Hendrik Still, has romped clear. 2.2 seconds. He's got to gain 6 seconds to catch Simon Gachet, but that's certainly helping his teammate. He's stretching it out. And Dante Rapanga shares with Kenny Heremans. Kenny will be the slower of those two drivers, one would presume, but a lot of drivers will change in the Pro-Am class to Pro to Am, and that's what happens. No, oh gosh, the gap is definitely coming down. Jim Pla now 1.1 seconds down on Luc Ibanez. Bear in mind, Andronico was running second in the number 22 Porsche from Allied Racing. Then he was passed last time around by Jim Pla. Now he's fallen back by 1.25 seconds. Jim Pla is closing in on the race leader though. So he closed in, including making an overtaking manoeuvre for the lead of the race, for the second place in the race on that lap. So Pla has got the pace. Let's keep an eye on that. Antoine Leclerc has suddenly fallen back, maybe got a little twitchy moment on the gravel. The first of the two racing team, the man Aston Martins, has got past, the second one is shaping up. So Tom Canning has gone through. Konstantin Lachenauer is having a look now. Out of turn 6 they go. It's suddenly getting busy. Is there a slow punction for Antoine Leclerc? I simply think he lost momentum. Now everybody going past him, including the number 44 Alexander Hartwig car. Yeah, something untoward. You can see pulling off the side of the circuit, Antoine Leclerc. I think he's got a puncture, and he'll pull wide, keeping out of the way. Well done indeed to him for doing that as he goes more slowly. So much gravel on the outside of the turn at turn number 10. As long as the drivers can tuck into the inside of the corner, they should be fine. Incident between cars 36 and 38 noted. That's Antoine Leclerc and Hendrik Still. So maybe that, let's take a look at turn 10. Oh, well, you can see that was a rotation, car number 57 going around, facing the wrong way. So things are happening, but what's mainly happening is Jim Pla is doing his best to hunt down the race leader. Has the gap calmed down? I want to suggest it's under a second now. It was 1.1 seconds. It's under 0.6 of a second. Jim Pla is chasing. The pit stop window will be open in just under a minute, but you can sure Jim Pla will stay out until just before 25 minutes left to go in this race. Cars running off in the background of the shot, kicking up the dirt. Order starting to change, and a few drivers that started somewhat down the order making their way forward. The pack is being shuffled at this point, but Luc Ibanez is at the front of the race. This is the leading AM runner, Stanislav Safronov, and he is up to 11th place overall. NM Racing Team are having a fabulous time here. They're leading the race. Luc Ibanez are now leading the AM class as well. Tyre debris at the side of the circuit. Stay off that. The pickup becomes horrible. It sticks to your tyres. It gets into the tread. It's invariably a different compound to the one you're racing on. Oh, bodywork damage on the tail of number 55. That's the Alpine driven by Jean-Baptiste Meller. In fact, it's been like that for a while. He's still lapping, but not at the front end of the field, I think we can safely say. In fact, he's only down in 12th. Pit window is now open. So the next 10 minutes, cars will rumble into the pits and out. But you'd suggest that the front runners will be the ones that stay out as long as they possibly can. But for Luc Ibanez, he is being hunted down by Jim Pla. Maybe the pressure will be a little bit confusing for him, and he's got a really good teammate in Enzo Juli. He may decide to pit early, and it might be about to be pushed wide at the final corner, because Jim Pla is right onto his tail in the blue Mercedes, chasing the grey one as close as they can be. And bear in mind, Jim Pla went round the outside to take second place. Surely at turn 1 he's going to try the inside. It's got to be the safer route. You know what? That was a very sensible move from Luc Ibanez. Jim Pla was coming. He could see. He let him through, led him out of the way. But Jim Pla is in the car. He'll hand over to an AM driver, whereas for Luc Ibanez, he'll be handing over to a fellow pro. So you'd expect Jean-Luc Bobelic to be slower than Jim Pla when he takes over the 87 Mercedes, and therefore have a deficit in the second part of the race. So that was very, very sensible from Luc Ibanez. Not many pit visitors yet. Mike Ortman was one of the first to come in. Bear in mind, he's already been a winner. He's handing over to Hugo Sass. That's the car sitting there for Pro Sport Racing. Time to check tyre pressures around here, and certainly at the end of the race we don't want people's tyre performance falling off any more than it necessarily will. So it'd be very interesting to see how Jim Pla can pull clear of Luc Ibanez. Took the lead just at the start of this lap. just before, well, possibly a lap or two before their pit stops. We've got 15 laps on the board. Dante Rapanga all on his own in 5th place. Is he lapping faster than the cars ahead? Yeah, very marginally, taking a few tenths here or there, but he's about 6 seconds back, but he's sitting on an advantage of nearly 5 seconds over Hendrick still, so he's comfortable in 5th place. And look how Pla, having taken the lead at the start of this lap, completes the lap, not only just in front, but pulling clear. He was 0.17 of a second behind at the start of the lap. Coming into the corner where he made the passing manoeuvre, that's turn 1, and what's his advantage? 0.8, so he's gained a whole second, and he's included an overtaking manoeuvre in that. But it must be said that Luc Ibanez was sensible. He kept out of the way, thought, go for it, you're in a Pro-Am entry, I'll be safe behind you. And that number 26 Audi that had its spin, got in the gravel, just blocking him a little bit. Jim Pla a little more positive in bursting past, but the headlights now being flashed from the race leader, doesn't want to be delayed by any of the drivers he's coming up to lap. And soon he'll also have cars that have made a pit stop and are coming out on fresh, you know, with a fresh driver who's already probably feeling, having got into a hot cockpit. But it was a tidy move down into turn 1. We'd seen the lap before pass around the outside, but that was blocked off by Luc Ibanez, but it was almost plain that the inside was going to be the line for Jim Pla. So he's got into the lead, he's flashing his lights, he's coming up behind those who have made their pit stops. And this is Hugo Sass, already a winner. 2 wins, in fact, at Port Ricard last time out. So he's got the pace, but they started down middle order. And unfortunately, that one may not polish out. One of the Allied Racing cars, it's car number 44, the Porsche that was started by Alexander Hartvig, got up to 10th place overall, but that's obviously come at a cost. So out comes the tank tape, the duct tape, so beloved of racing teams. And as that happens, the sister car, Vincent Andronico, who was running 2nd, had fallen back to 3rd place and now off the track. Can he get it through the gravel without beaching it, or has he aimed for the gap with a problem? And hopefully the car could be towed out of there. But what a shame. Andronico had driven so well. And for his teammate, Andreas Mayel, what disappointment. He won't get to have a run in this, the first of the GT4 European Series races here at Misano. Into the pits come Ibanez. He's going to hand over to fellow pro driver, that's Enzo Giuli, whereas continuing in the lead of the race, Jim Pla will come in as late as possible to hand his car, the 87, a Codis ASP Mercedes, over to the AM driver in his lineup, which is Jean-Luc Bobelic. So the pit window's open, looking at a replay, a spin all on his own, under pressure there from Hendrick, still having fallen back a little bit, and round went Vincent Andronico. And whether that car gets going again remains to be seen. What a disappointment, because certainly Vincent has been one of the up-and-coming stars in this series and has scored some really great results for Allied Racing, including 2nd place in the opening round of the season at Imola. 2nd place overall and class winners in Pro-Am. They started well, but just compounding that and just stretching the point and proving the point about how good they are. Right, Enzo Giuli heads out, and the letters IBA for Ibanez will be wiped off the windscreen, the flashing lights on the screen, and JOU for Enzo Giuli will take their place when they go out of pit exit onto the track. But for now, Jim Pla continues in the lead of this race, pressing, pushing. He's got a couple of cars who've made their pit stops, or even a couple of cars he's been lapping, and what is going on? Suddenly he's going a bit crazy out there. And the 89 Aston Martin, started by Stanislas Safranos, has just been handed over, started by Julien Lambert, just been handed over, and that's off the circuit in the hands of Wilfried Cazalbon. So really calm in the first part of the race, and suddenly it's just getting a little bit busy. Pit window still open though. Jim Pla continuing in the lead of the race, 7 seconds the good over the 81 car, the sister car from a Codis ASP, driven by Simon Gachet. Bear in mind, he hunted it down for several laps, then made the move, and Jim Pla since then has gained 7 seconds, showing his class. Pit lane still so busy, where we've got another probably 2 laps, possibly at a pinch 3 laps for the front runners to come in and make their mandatory pit stop. But Jim Pla for now, there he is, continuing, trying to pick off car after car, not take risks, dive down the inside into turn number 8, going past with the 19 Aston Martin. Of course, that was started by Tom Canning. Akhil Rabindra, the Indian racer, has just taken that over, trying not to push too hard too soon, and not far behind Rabindra. I think I saw Ugo Sass in the background, and he'll be trying to move up the order too in the number 24 Aston Martin from Pro Sport Racing. Had a few spins, had a few tumbles. A few drivers did very well to get to the top 10 before pitting. Adam Carroll up to 9th. Yes, some of the cars in front had pitted, but now we've got drivers running slowly. We've got waved yellows. Have we got a moment that's going to, we can have a full course yellow. There's the sign at the top of the screen. So sometimes if you time your pit stop just right and you serve it during a full course yellow, this could be a massive gain. And oh, well, we can see precisely why. We've got a tattered and battered Aston Martin. Did that happen all on its own? I would think, looking at the debris around, probably not. I think it's the number 7 from Ugo Conda sharing with Noah Andy. Need a closer sighting of that. That was running down in about 35th position. Had just served a pit stop though, so just handed over to Hugo Conde from the AGS events team. Very loyal to Aston Martin. Have had many moments. Haven't seen as yet what's put that car off into the gravel, but the rescue crew incredibly quickly to the scene of the crime. Now, can this be removed before full course yellow becomes a safety car? And how much an advantage? Well, Jim Pla has taken the moment. He's dived into the pits. He could have done another lap just about, but of course, full course yellow means they're running at a bated pace. So anybody who's stayed out past this pit stop, we need Simon Gachet's come in as well. Dante Rapanga surely will come in, and Safronoff as well. Otherwise, they won't get in time. The pit stop window will close, and they need to maximise their time. Let's take a look at the replay. Background of the shot. Oh, big contact. And I think Conde had just come out after the pit stop and was collected and clattered into. Well, he certainly was, just trying to identify the car that hit him. But so I think that was the driver coming out of the pits being hit by one who was on full gas. Right, the 81 Mercedes, the 87 sister car, both in the pits, and it'll be Eric Debar going out in the 81 after the pit stop in a Pro-Am lineup, and likewise Jean-Luc Bobelic will take over 87. Right, pit window extended by 3 minutes. I think that was because a number of drivers could have been caught with the full course yellow running at a bated pace, and they could have been with full intent of coming in before we got to 25 minutes left, and now the choice is not really theirs. That's a wise choice from race control, because it would be unfair if simply you weren't allowed with the limiter on out on the circuit to get around in time. Number 51, Mercedes, the third of the cars from the NM Racing team. This is the one in the Pro-Am class comes in, as does the sister car. And Philippe Vava running in the AM class. Sorry, Stanislav Safronov in the AM class will hand over to Alexander Weintraub, who slots in where. Jim Pla has handed over to Jean-Luc Bobelic. And Simon Gachet, this is Gachet's car, now coming out in the hands of Eric Debar. It seems as though the cars are driving through treacle, running slowly because they have to be on a speed limiter. Maximum speed out on the track controlled by a speed limiter. It looks like walking pace. Gives the drivers, though, a chance to consider where the gravel is on the track. And the ones who would have lost out the most were the drivers who dived in early in the pit window to make their pit stop. They'd have done it when they served their time in the pits while their rivals were going around at unabated speed. There's a mandatory minimum pit stop time. However, if your rival out on the track is running behind with the limiter on under full course yellow, they are not lapping fast. But if it was before the pit window, sorry, before the full course yellow was thrown and a few cars did come in, all their rivals on the track would be at full racing speed, therefore covering an awful lot more ground. 19 laps on the board. Jean-Luc Bobelic, Eric Debar, Jean-Luc Bobelic, get it right, and Eric Debar have served their pit stop. Alexander Weintraub just waiting for the cars to get around one further lap, because some of them have been given according to their positions in the pit lane. They'll have crossed the start-finish line and then pulled to serve their pit stop. Full course yellow is not yet turning into safety car. That's good news indeed. And the Aston Martin being removed from the background. Car number 14 for under investigation for speeding in the pit lane. That's a bit of a no-no. That's the yellow Audi of Roy Mejuhas and Owen Bastard, one of the cars from the Santalok Racing stable. And that's all the way down in 35th position overall. So the pit window still open for another 1.5 minutes. Just looking down the timing screen, everybody has served their mandatory pit stop. and the number 11 Borusan Automotive Motorsport BMW M4 GT4 to give it its full title. Jason Tahinchi on board now. That has served 2 pit stops. So we saw that running wide in the very early laps of the race, and that's paid the price for that. So no safety car leading them around. It's full course yellow. Here is our race leader, Jean-Luc Bobelic. The waved yellow flags. One of the Allied Racing Porsches coming through next in line. Just waiting to see who's listed in second place and what the margin is. So Jean-Luc Bobelic. Well, that's the car. The Porsche in the background was the one that Alexander Hartwig was driving. A little bit bent. Moritz Witzkirchen now at the wheel of that. Just look, Eric de Baar has just crossed the line in second place. He's the blue and yellow Mercedes coming into turn 1 now. That's quite a gap. 22 seconds between Jean-Luc Bobelic and Eric de Baar. And you know what? The time in the pits was almost identical. But what Jean-Luc Bobelic did, he just under full course yellow. Well, he can't go fast. There's a limiter, but he's gained an awful lot of time. The gap between them before the pit stop was only about 6 seconds. Bobelic had passed de Baar's teammate, Simon Gachet, stretched clear. Sorry, Jim Pla had passed Simon Gachet and then pulled clear. But now the advantage very much with their respective teammates. Bobelic ahead of de Baar, 22 seconds. Right, turn 3 was where we had the clash that caused this full course yellow period. We identified the number 7 car that Hugo Condé was driving, but the number 89 car was the other one in the mix. The oh, good grief. Sister car, both AGS events cars. They're both white and black, and Wilfried Kazelbaum was taking over from Julien Lambert, and there was the clash down there. So that won't be the happiest of garages, unfortunately for them. Normally a really happy camp with their Aston Martins, but one driver hitting another. Haven't seen the full extent of damage, but one of those cars out of the race. Possibly, quite possibly, both of them out of the race. Background of the shot, I think I just saw a white Alpine pulling off to the side of the circuit. Interesting. We'd already had it Antoine Leclerc in the walls in number 36. And at the moment, the best placed Alpine is, let's have a little look, it's Laurent Hergon in 12th place overall. So problems coming, not thick and fast, but for AGS events, the big clash between 2 of their cars, not good news. And the race clock continues to count down. Just over 20 minutes this 1-hour race remain. It's Jean-Luc Bobelic from Eric de Baar. The gap is very large indeed, over 20 seconds, but for Ocodis ASP, that is both first and second in their cars. Now up to 3rd place overall goes Kerry Heremans in the V8 Racing Camaro. There it is in your shot. He's nearly 5 seconds down on Eric de Baar. And he just shortly 3rd place is Alexander Weintraub for NM Racing Team. Don't forget, he's now ahead of the sister car. Enzo Juli, for whatever reason, is suddenly down in 11th place, and the AM car from that 3-car crew from NM Racing Team is up into 4th. Just waiting to see that the pit time for Enzo Juli. Why so long? No, it was the same sort of pace as the rivals. In fact, of the front runners, the slowest runners were in the pits with number 18, Aston Martin from Team Spirit Racing. They lost time. All the others pretty even Stevens. 19 minutes and a bit remaining. The cars waiting for the signal. No one can gain an advantage. De Baar in 2nd place, the blue and yellow-nosed Mercedes. The car that is in 3rd place overall, Kenny Heremans. Here he is, lights flashing in the Camaro as he goes through the front of the shot. The next car should be Alexander Weintraub. That looks like him in the background running in 4th place in the grey and orange Mercedes. Just wait to have that confirmed as he crosses the start-finish line. 4th place overall, top in the AM class. Safety car is to be deployed. The extended pit window, or the pit window extension, has passed by a few minutes ago. For all these drivers now, the safety car will bunch them up, and that 20-second advantage for Jean-Luc Bobelic will be brought down to just a second or a few car lengths There's the safety car. It's picked up Jean-Luc Bobelic. I did sort of sense, I mean, there are various cars scattered at the edge of the circuit. You can see one of the Greystone GT McLarens in the background between turns 9 and 10, but clearly the clear-up is still going on for the two AGS events Aston Martins clashing at turn 3. Have to look down the train of cars. Our race leader, Jean-Luc Bobelic, then 1, 2, 3 cars, and then the car in second place, the sister blue and yellow nosed Mercedes of Eric Debar. Clearly that is way under 20 seconds behind now, but importantly it's the 3 cars between them. It's the buffer zone. And Kenny Heremans, 1, 2, 3, he's got also 3, possibly 4 if I didn't count right, cars between him in third place and Eric Debar. There's confirmation down at turn 13 and 14. It is 3 cars between first and second. These are 3 back markers and a similar number, 3 cars also between second, which is Eric Debar in the 81 Mercedes from Mercedes ASP, and 17, the V8 Racing Chevrolet Camaro of Kenny Heremans. And then really quite a big margin back to the 4th runner, Alexander Weintraub, who will be having the race of his life for the NM Racing Team Mercedes crew. Just to reiterate, he's running in the AM class. And for Stanis Safronov, who did such a good job in the opening stint, their best result between them is 20th place and a class win at Paul Ricard. They're running 4th place and there are only 16.5 minutes remaining on the clock. So for Alexander Weintraub, this is a fine place to be. He may lose a few places, he may hang on, we'll wait and see. Even Giacomo in the 718 Porsche is next in line from Century Porsche Ticino, and Rodrigue Guillon is the top for Aston Martin driver in 6th overall. But there is Alexander Weintraub leading the AM class comfortably, leading the race comfortably is Jean-Luc Bobelic. He's in the Pro-Am class, and the leading pro driver is Enzo Giuli down in 11th place overall. Right, safety car is to be in at the end of this lap. All eyes on the car in the lead of the race, the number 87 Jean-Luc Bobelic Mercedes. He's got at the moment a 3.8 second advantage. That will come down because the safety car is still there, but importantly his margin over Eric Debar also doesn't just include those seconds, it includes 3 drivers that need to be passed. They're not fighting for position there, however they're between Debar and Bobelic. You can see the first of those is the Porsche that was running well just inside the top 10. That's got the nose taped up from Allied Racing, and that needs to be polite, needs to be made aware of who is just challenging for these top positions and be flagged to the side accordingly. Safety car still circulating, but the race leader Jean-Luc Bobelic has slowed them down through the kink at turn 15. He's accelerating and in behind, pushing, shoving, looking for a gap. There's that number 44 Porsche, but that's had its problems. You've got the taped up nose. In fact, the Porsche is diving down the inside of Jean-Luc Bobelic. Don't worry, it's not taking the lead in the race. It's unlapping itself. 3 abreast for those behind. Eric Debar in the battle. He's down by 2.2 seconds, but it was getting a bit busy into turn 1. This is where you can get caught out and someone else's problem becomes all yours. Just the back of the pack, Enzo Giuli. Look for the number 15 Mercedes. There it is, just behind the Borisan BMW. He's got the pace, he's got the guts, he's got the ambition. Dives up the inside into turn number 3. More places being gained. The Drago car being picked off there by Enzo Giuli. That's Robert Haub. And again, the number 44 Porsche lost time having its nose taped up. Alexander Hartwig has handed over to Maurice Wiskirchen. So not in the battle for the lead with Jean-Luc Bobelic. Several cars flashing their lights, just trying to warn others. There's that Greystone GT number 47 in the hands of Tim Well, the McLaren 570S started by Adam Carroll. Mercedes from Mercedes. Bobelik from Debar, then the leading, well, the one and only Chevrolet, Kenny Harriman's trying to hang in there. And then behind, it is really a case of et al. Oh, contact there. Unfortunately, that's Alexandra Weintraub, the 53 Mercedes, shoved to the outside. And then, unfortunately, not their problem at all, but it became so. And a front-on smack into Pascal Gibbon's car. So the Acodis ASP car is sitting there. There is debris on the track. The car is stationary. Let's take a look. Up the inside, these weren't fighting for position. The 88 Mercedes was in 4th place overall, but Pascal Gibbon gave him no space, perhaps didn't even realise a move was going to be made. And for Alexander Weintraub, is he able to continue in 4th place? Just double checking. Yes, I think he can, but it was the Aston Martin tucked in behind. I think one of the Pro Sport cars that then thumped into the nose of the spun. Oh, dearie me, a Codis car. So Pascal Gibbon, his Mercedes is bent, and another car accordingly. Full course yellow. That needs to be cleared up. So fast, fast, slow, slow. It becomes 12.5 minutes remain. Moritz Fitzkirchen is not the race leader, but he's in front of the race leading number 87 Mercedes. There is Eric Debar in second, and Kenny Harriman's here flashing his lights. Car number 17, the Chevrolet. Jean-Luc Bobelik with the pink nose, the pink splitter on the front of his Mercedes. In fact, Kenny Harriman's, I thought I saw it said 002 on his windscreen. On this lap, he's just managed to get of Eric Debar. Full course yellow. Would it be a second safety car? We'd only just got going again. Now all the drivers know, here's a long field of cars running into the turn 8. Well, pretty much a hairpin. They have to control it, they have to get it right, but the driver who can control it is the driver at the front of the pack, and that driver is Jean-Luc Bobelik. Let's take a look again. This is the passing manoeuvre into turn 14. Hips and shoulders, and unfortunately for Eric Debar, shoved out of the way. In fact, that was at turn 13. He went through. No, it wasn't. It was turn 2. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Two camera angles looking a little bit similar, but Kenny Harriman's up into second place overall. But the race leader is the blue, pink and white Mercedes. Started by Jim Pla. He went from second on the grid down to 4th, worked his way back to the front of the field. And it was the Aston Martin that got hit, that was driven very well in the second part of the race. But Rodrigue Guillon, who took over from Nico Verdonk, had nowhere to go with the spinning number 53 Mercedes right in its path at the exit of turn 14. Pascal Gibbon was the passenger in that car, and in this one it was Rodrigue Guillon. And there's Gibbon's car looking to be towed away. Unfortunately, you can see there's still debris on the circuit down there, and some of the drivers, one of the AJS events, Aston Martins, getting very close to that before seeing it and pulling sharply to the right of the circuit. So a brush up of the circuit to get that debris off will be required. The Mercedes has to move too. Will we get through this race? 10 minutes and 20 seconds remaining before we go green again, or will we get the safety car and then one final blast to the finish? It's a matter of investigation. Here's the move again, up the inside on the curb. You could maybe say that the driver of 53, Pascal Gibbon, didn't see. Probably just didn't know it was a driver who was challenging for 4th place and for AM honours that was running up ahead. But in these small moments, these fleet moments, things change. And for Acodis ASP, not so much a night on the town tonight, but a night in the garage getting that fixed. And their number 53 car, that stopped at turn 14. Under 10 minutes remain. Jean-Luc Bobelik leading for the ACA ASP team. Up into second place, Kenny Harriman has deposed the second of those Acodis ASP Mercedes. That's back, and this isn't planned. Gus Bowers, we heard from him at the start of the race. Looks so there's a puncture or a left rear problem for that. And he was leading the championship with his teammate Konstantin Lachenauer, thanks to those 2 wins in the first 2 races at Imola. So there they came with a tidy lead, 31-point advantage over Ortmann and Sass, who were the strong pairing in the second round of the championship, and no points in the first race. That is a big disaster. Suddenly we can see Ortmann and Sass closing in, but where are they? They are down in 17th position overall, heading at the moment only for 3rd place points in the pro class. Still a helping hand that will be, but for Bowers and Lachenauer, that's very disappointing indeed to be parked in the pit lane. The 5th place Porsche just coming into shot, the number 718 of Ivan Giacomo, and he's got a whole host of cars tucked in behind. And Jacob Knoll, haven't really talked about him, also running for the NM Racing team, who are having such a good weekend. Philippe Vava started the 51 Mercedes. Jacob Noll is running around in 6th place overall in that. Now look for this car, Hugo Sass, double winner at Paul Ricard, down in 17th place. The restart will be coming. When will it be coming? Coming sometime soon, you might think, but just waiting. Hugo Sass's first target will be the number 38 WNS Motorsport Porsche Cayman, Max Kronberg, who took over from Hendrik Still. Remember, that car was at the front end of the field, fighting in 5th and 6th positions, but that has fallen down the order somewhat, having started so well from 6th on the grid. Full course yellow turns to safety car, and contact between cars 82 and 53 under investigation at turn 14. But that will be after the race, because we're into the final 10 minutes, into the final 7.5 minutes. The safety car at the front of the field. And of course, both the 53 Mercedes and the number 88 Mercedes. Well, one's at the side of the track, and the car that did the pushing and shoving, Alexandra Weintraub, is circulating in 4th place overall, but leading the AM class. That's still going. The pusher, the one that went for a spin and then got hit by several other cars, is the one that suffered. That's Pascal Guibon. We started with 45 cars, and we've just seen Gus Bauer's car in the pit, so by my reckoning, and Rodrigue Guillon, we might be down to just 32 runners. So it's been a busy, slightly expensive race, but a track as tight as the circuit Marco Simoncelli here at Misano, and 45 cars is a mix that will always involve a little bit of bashing, boring and bruising, but the racing has been far from boring. How long will the safety car remain? When will we get the sign that it's withdrawing at the end of the lap? We can go racing again, but just bear in mind, Jean-Luc Beaubelique has got several cars between him and the chasing Kenny Heremans. They can't go back to full speed. They're waiting for it, though. And let's see where it goes from here. Waiting for the lights to go out on top of the roof of the safety car to indicate coming in at the end of the lap. Looking for the Chevrolet. It's got 4 cars between itself and the race leader. It can only watch as Jean-Luc Beaubelique pings the start and shoots off in the lead of the race, but Kenny Heremans has got to pick off 4 other drivers. Safety car in at the end of this lap, so we'll probably get, as we're halfway around the lap, about 3.5 minutes of racing. Of course, when you run behind a safety car, the pace is so controlled, and it's way down, of course, from full race pace. Out of turn 10 comes the safety car. Jean-Luc Beaubelique leads the pack, and the next car down is the BMW of Massimiliano Tresoldi. He's running in 25th place overall, so that should be easy pickings for the chasing Kenny Heremans. But he's got to pick his moments, and he won't have that many of them. Almost down to just 5 minutes remaining in this race. Safety car in at the end of this lap. Through the tight twister at turn 14 they go. The lights out on the safety car. Right, Jean-Luc Beaubelique will control the restart. The 4 cars immediately behind him are not challengers. They could be confusing for him. He just has to keep them behind and hope that the blue-nosed Chevrolet, there it is, 6th car round the corner, 2nd overall, doesn't close in too much. So we've got 4 minutes and 45 seconds of racing in which Jean-Luc Beaubelique will have to control the lead of this race. The Codis ASP, so much success for them with their Mercedes, but for him and Jim Ply, they've had 2 class wins in their prime class. They'll be heading for a 3rd, but their best overall result was 3rd in the opening race of the series at Imola. So are they on for their best result of the season and an outright win, or can Kenny Heremans spring a real surprise? A surprise for V8 Racing, and in fact he's not too far ahead of Eric de Baar in the second Codis ASP Mercedes. That's number 81. What other challenges have we got? Alexandra Weintraub may still be in trouble, under investigation for that clash that spun and damaged the number 53 Mercedes. That will be investigated, however, after the race. Pushing and shoving, number 47 Tim Whale being given a little love tap down there. He's going to see if he can finish in the top 10. He's in 10th place overall. That was the car started by Adam Carroll for Greystone GT. In behind and looking very busy. In fact, had been ahead at the start of the lap is Maurice Ritchie in the 61 Mercedes. So there has been a place change there. Place change there for Tim Whale. and possibly Laurent Ergon as well. But good to see the cars back at full race pace. Jean-Luc Bobelic, 2.1 seconds to the good as he started this lap. Looking at the sectors, there's, well, actually, to be honest, gained a little bit in the opening sector, lost half a second to Kenny Heremans in the Chevrolet in the second, but it's how many cars between them? It was 5, it's only 3 now. Or was it 4 and it's 3? But anyhow, it's coming down. They're not too far behind in third place, Eric de Bar, but he's having to watch in his mirrors. He's being pushed hard by Alexandre Feintraub. The traffic is not the friend of Kenny Heremans. He's in the number 17 Camaro. Needs to depose a handful of cars in front of him to set off after race leader Jean-Luc Bobelic. The gap was 2.1 seconds. It's come down to 1.5. Kenny Heremans has to pick his moment, but Massimiliano Tresoldi being a little bit obstructive to the AGS events Aston Martin in front of him. So that's not too helpful. And that's Tom Verdier who's trying to pick him off. And as they fight, it means the race leader is pulling ever further clear. Now, how brave is Kenny Heremans? Just the duo fight in front. Does he dive up the inside into turn 8? Not close enough to do so. Tresoldi runs a little bit wide, a little bit wider still, trying to come back on the circuit. You can see the pace of the Camaro is much greater, much more under control out of turn 8, but he's got to stick his nose up the inside, and it's not always wanted just there. Weaving, pushing, shoving behind, looking for gaps. The number 42 Audi is certainly very busy out on the circuit in the hands of Fabien Michal. He's had such great pairings over the year with Gregory Gilbert, continue to race together. But talking of continuing, the race lead still in the hands of Jean-Luc Bobelic. 1.5 seconds now is his advantage. Just remember, traffic is his friend. He had that 4 or 5 car advantage over the chasing Kenny Heremans, who's picked off 1 or 2, but we've only got this lap and the next one for all these runners. In the first of the 2 GT4 European Series race, and in behind looks so even Jacoba diving up the inside, not quite making it work. The Porsche came and backed out, and that's the challenge for position. Eric de Bar has fallen back into their path. Certainly the Porsche looking very busy indeed. .718 has advanced. Alex Fontana has started in 14th, and then that is now ahead of Alexandre Weintraub. So de Bar holds on to third place, but for how much longer? They're on the final lap of the race, but the 718 Porsche is catching him, and Laurent Ergon also in the mix. Fabien Michal as well, but it's a really tight little battle. De Bar in the Mercedes, Jacoma in the Porsche, Weintraub in the Mercedes, the Audi of Michal and Laurent Ergon. But up front, 1.2 seconds to good. Jean-Luc Bobelic, surely as this is the final lap, has got the buffer of a couple of cars. He can hold on and take a first win of the season, as well as the Pro-Am honours here in the first of the 2 races at the circuit. Marco Simoncelli super tight in this battle for third place overall. Can a Codis ASP make it a Mercedes 1-2? At the moment, Jean-Luc Bobelic is heading for the lead of the race. Kenny Heremans flashing in the shot in the background. Still got 2 cars to pass. I said there was actually a little bit of a touch there. The tail of de Bar, I'm sure, was given a rub by the 718 Porsche. That's lost momentum. And the Audi and Fabien Michal said, yeah, thank you, you lost momentum. I've got mine. And makes a great passing manoeuvre. Then tries to drive out toward the grandstands to take a wider line to get a faster run into turn 14. Don't think it's going to work, and I do think the race officials will take a look at that. But through the final corner for the final time, Jean-Luc Bobelic, I can almost imagine him singing in the cockpit. Victory has gone his way. Jim Plow will be delighted. He'd already had a GT3 race, and now he's been rewarded for his double input. Kenny Heremans comes across the line in second place, eventually 2 seconds down, but the cars between him and the race-leading Bobelic was just too much after the safety car withdrew. Third place eventually goes to Fabien Michal. We saw that move on the final lap, going past not just even Jacoma to take 4th, but Eric de Bar as well to take 3rd place overall. So Mercedes, Chevrolet, Audi are the top 3 positions in the race. It was certainly busy out there, but at the end of the race, Bobelic did enough, controlled it, so he'll be very happy. The winner of race 1, of course, we have 2 races here at Misano. He'll be hot, but now he can lower the windows, get a bit of a breeze into the car. But he won't mind. It's a winner's honour. Background of the shot, still 2 cars to pass if he wanted to challenge. Bobelic was Kenny Heremans, but that was a car that spent its race going forward. The V8 Racing Rumbler, the Camaro, started in 11th, so Dante Rapanga and Kenny Heremans should be very, very pleased in that. In fact, looking down the order, the top 6 are all in Pro-Am, which is quite remarkable. And then the 7th place car, Alexander Weintraub, is the top runner in the AM class. The top Silver Cup entry was Enzo Giuli, the car that led away from pole in this race in the hands of Luc Ibanez, but just something went amiss around the time of the pit stops. And don't forget, those that pitted when the full course yellow was being served gained an enormous advantage. Those that pitted early, while it was all at full racing speed, lost out. That's why some cars went backwards down the order. So for Jean-Luc Beaubelique, a job well done in that number 87 Mercedes. I'm sure Jim Pla, we interviewed him before the race. I'm sure he'll be happy to give us another one. But Jean-Luc Beaubelique, I'm sure, will be the driver smiling the most, because that was a very, very well judged race win. Other ones worth picking up. We talked of Adam Carroll in the early stage of the races. That 47 McLaren went up to 8th place, eventual 8th place. Tim Whale doing a great job in the second half of the race, just ahead of Jacob Knoll. And then completing the top 10, Robert Haub, the number 4 entry, the Drago Racing Team ZVO Mercedes. And then 11th place overall, the Pro winner. Really, really unusual. But there were moments in that race, a little bit of push, a little bit of shove, but for Acodis ASP, they don't mind, because their car has come out top. The sister car, the 81, just missed out on an overall podium in 4th place overall. So let's take a look at those results. Acodis ASP in the lead of the race, the victory in the race. Jim Pla started, Jean-Luc Beaubelique did the rest. Dante Rapanga, Kenny Heremans, they went right up the order from 11th to 2nd. Gregory Gilvar and Fabien Michel hunting, always in the pack and working their way forward. So they have had a huge gain as well. Simon Gachet, Eric Debar just couldn't hold on to 3rd place at the end, but another good run for the Acodis ASP team with their Mercedes. Alex Fontana, Ivan Giacomo, the all-Swiss lineup, muscled back right at the end of the race to 5th place overall in their Porsche from Centri Porsche Ticino. There's still quite a few of the top names ending up on that second screen. Little mishaps, a spin here, a push there, a puncture here, a puncture there, and still some of the top runners down there. But as you can see, 32 of the 45 starters made it to the finish of the race. Some of those with gravelly moments, but full honours to Acodis ASP and their Mercedes. And don't forget, Jim Pla told us before the start of the race, they had a BOP adjustment. But let's go down and hear from, I presume, a very happy person down in the pit lane. We spoke to him before. His name is Jim Pla. His car has just won. He's with Gemma.
Jim, obviously Jean-Luc's just gone off to get weighed, but in the meantime, what a great race. The efforts that you've put in today have paid off.
Yeah, my start was not really good, honestly. I lost 2 positions, but then I felt that the car was really good. I could overtake my teammate, and then the Porsche was really good in the straight. It was quite difficult to overtake him, but then the degradation was, I think, for us was a bit better, so I could overtake him. And then, yeah, unfortunately, the safety car after the pit window didn't help a lot, because I think we were with a good gap. But yeah, anyway, we win and we score a good point for the championship, so it's a really good race.
What happened at the start there? We saw you slip back a couple of places.
No, I was just looking the Ibanez, who is leading, and when I went off the throttle, it was a bit too late, and then yeah, it's like this. Sometimes it's better to start in 3rd position than 2nd position, you know.
It is indeed. Well, that certainly paid off. Jean-Luc, if we can grab a quick word.
Man, it's a very good pilot.
And you drove a fantastic stint as well, Jean-Luc.
For me, I make the return the car only.
Well, you did it in a very good style. Well done to both of you.
Very much, Gemma, and Jean-Luc Beaubelique, always modest. He did what he had to do. There was a lot of pressure, but it must be said that the traffic was his friend. A few cars between him and the chasing pack, with Kenny Heremans at its helm in those final laps, but he brought it home, and tire degradation clearly not too much of a problem for him. But their best result until now was a couple of wins in the Pro-Am class. They've added a 3rd, but a 1st win for their season, which tops their 3rd place at the opening race in the opening round in Imola, back when temperatures were a little bit cooler back at the start of April. But for the GT4 European Series, it's great to have a Mercedes winner. It's even greater to have a Chevrolet closing in. And let's hear from the driver who brought it to the finish, Kenny Heremans, who's down with a very happy Gemma.
Kenny, looks looks like you took a little bit of contact there.
Yeah, that's what they call battle scars. And I know where, because just before full course yellow came up, it was a few seconds, the team came in, and I could go for P2 just 2 seconds or 3 seconds before full course yellow again. So that's the battle scars from.
You pushed hard at the right moment and it made it count.
Yeah, it was taking your time, being gentle in the full course yellow and the safety cars, and just take your moment when you could drive in the second stint.
Absolutely.
So, but, congrats to my teammate as well, because
No apologies, all congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, really happy. Was close at the end, but yeah, very happy with P2 and Pro AM podium, so could not be better, I think.
Absolutely, great start to the weekend. Well done to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gemma. So Kenny Harriman, so he just highlighting how he just managed to get past Eric Debar just before, just at the vital moment, seconds before it went to full course yellow. So good work from the team as well to predict that was coming and for him to just seize the moment, and that ended up with second place for the Chevrolet crew from V8 Racing. Staunch supporter of the championship way back when grids were under 20, but now there are 45 cars starting here. Let's take a look at the start of the race, and the pole starter Luke Ibanez got his nose in front, but the Porsche went from fourth on the grid up into second, driven brilliantly by Vincent Andronico, and there's the battle for third place, and Andronico slipped into the lead. Then this is the battle for fifth place. Hendrick still holding it down, being chased at that point by Dante Rapanga. Dante managed to get past, muscle past, and then pulled clear. Tucked in behind, Antoine Leclerc also going very well in his Alpine. Little spin there, and that scattered the field behind, but that was a great move around on the grass by the Aston Martin from AGS Events. And there's a little move, and no thanks there, but Jim Pla going around the outside of Andronico to take the lead, and then the car that started last in the hands of Cyril Salai having a very gravelly moment, then bringing the gravel back for his friends to enjoy on the circuit. Round the outside into turn one to take second place, then round the inside this time for Jim Pla. So before the pit stops, Pla in the 87 Mercedes into the lead of the race. Then it came the scramble into the pits, and those that came in early, unfortunately, were denied a great pit stop, because then there was a full course yellow, and then spins became thick and fast, and the 88 Mercedes shoving the 53 Mercedes out of the way, unfortunately for Pascal Gibbon. That's under investigation. There is the move, and there was where the body damage came as the number 17 Chevrolet barged past Eric Debar's Mercedes. Then, of course, the field was released by the safety car. You can see the lights going out on the roof. And it was up to Jean-Luc Beaubelique to bring it home from there. But there were 3-4 cars between him and the chasing Kenny Harrimans. But there's the checkered flag at the end. Job done. A Codis win. Race 1. Now the drivers approaching the podium with many a story to tell. Be it from the starting driver to the second driver, or one driver to a driver from another car. But a lot of smiles down there. But you can be sure the broadest ones will be for the drivers who'll be on the top step of the podium. So the first few drivers going up onto the podium. And plenty of applause as they take the top few steps. But Enzo Giuli coming up onto that top step, taking pro honours, but actually down in 11th place overall, along with Luke Ibanez, having started from pole. So as the strains of the Marseillaise for Codis ASP move away, second place Benjamin Lariche and Robert Consani, and third place to the drivers who took 2 wins last time out, Mike Ortman and Hugo Sass, who really seem to be in the wars, don't seem to be on the pace as they would like here, but a lot of drivers had their times disallowed in qualifying for exceeding track limits, and they were among them. Trophies presented by Peter Coren, racing engineer for Pirelli, and they have to learn so much in these high temperatures in the Mediterranean this summer with this huge heat spike, but must be said, slightly cooler today. Consani and Lariche raced together for years, very much enjoying their second place trophies in the pro class. Like a lot of these drivers, they work their way up the order from poor qualifying positions. Consani and Lariche, Team Speed Car Audi, started down in 24th, came through to second in the Pro-Am class. But for Luc Ibanez and Enzo Giuli, they started on pole position. They ended up down in 11th, but they still took the Pro honours. For them, it might be what could have been for overall, but actually it matters not. They've taken maximum point score in the Pro class, and that should propel them up the order. They came here down in 3rd place after a slow start, 5th place in class, after a disaster really in the early race of the season. But NM Racing Team very much on the up here at Misano. So the Fizz, and of course we have, that's the Silver Cup class for the pro drivers, and of course we will have Pro-Am and Am podiums as well. And I can tell you the top 6 finishers in the race were all in Pro-Am. Job done, drivers have to do it all over again tomorrow. Champagne in the eyes for Benjamin Lariche there. Glasses back on, can't see, but is having a drink up on the podium. And I guess you could say for Mike Ortman and Hugo Sass, it's another good helping of points for them, which will close them in on Bowers and Lachenauer, who had a huge advantage coming here but didn't get to finish the race. So one driver's misfortune is very much the fortune of their rivals. Waiting for the Pro-Am finishers to come out, and I can tell you the top 3 finishers in this because they were top 3 finishers in the race. So the drivers who should be coming up first are the pair from the number 42 Santalot Racing Audi. It should be Gregory Gilbert and Fabien Michal. And here they come. Gregory Gilbert leading out, Fabien Michal happy with that 3rd place overall and 3rd place in Pro-Am. Long-time runners with Santalot Racing Team matching their best result, a 3rd place already this year. In 2nd place, Kenny Heremans, and the driver leading him out, Dante Rapanga, who was so strong in the opening stage of the races for V8 Racing in their Chevrolet. We'd heard from them already. In the black overalls, it's Jean-Luc Bobelic and his regular teammate, Jim Pla, the pro in this Pro-Am lineup, and victory for them for a Codis ASP. So applause all round these top 3 Pro-Am crews. The top 3 crews outright here at Misano. Can they do it again tomorrow? Of course, qualifying for the 2nd race has the number 2 driver in each of those teams doing the qualifying. But I can tell you one thing, the NM Racing Mercedes is on pole for that as well, with Enzo Giuli having scooped pole. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's enjoy the podium ceremonies here as the temperatures falls very slightly at the Misano circuit. Jean-Luc Bobelic rubbing his hands in anticipation of what lies ahead. Great to see. Such a fan of racing, such a GT champion in so many ways. So the Codis ASP team pick up another trophy, the team's trophy, and now the winner's trophy, outright winners and top in Pro-Am as well. So up they go, the smiles all round from the French duo on the top step of the podium at Misano. Drivers just a little too hasty as ever. They've got to stand for the official photo. You'd have thought they'd have learnt the routine by now, but when you've got the top step of the podium, of course you want to celebrate. All to do again tomorrow at a very hot Misano, but 6 very happy people. And now is a signal for champagne. Spray it or run. Maybe you can do both, but Jim Pla, quick on the track, slow on getting his bottle uncorked there in the middle of the podium. But victory here today at Misano for him And for Jean-Luc Bobelic, who was super happy and super modest when he got out of the car, said he just brought it home. But he brought it home to victory, to that checkered flag. Another win in GT4 European Series for Akkodis ASP. Let's do it all again tomorrow. Certainly the grid will be jumbled. We'll have a different format at the start of the race according to how the drivers take turns 1 and 2. Generally a neat and tidy race with a few little tumblers here at Misano. So the stage is being set for the AM class podium. The backdrop sprayed with champagne. Beautiful blue sky, but it certainly has been a very, very smiles all round, and we've got to do it again. That's always the exciting thing, but a very good AM class winner in 7th place overall. That's absolutely fantastic, and it shows the way that things have been shaking out for W&S Racing Team there, a team very much on the move, bringing a couple of cars here. And 3rd place, Mikel Laboda and Andrzej Solosowski, Akkodis ASP, more good results for them. That's in the AM class. They always bring a whole host of cars. But top step to the number 88 crew from NM Racing Team, Stanislav Safronov and Alexander Weintraub, ran as high as 4th. So as the strains the Spanish national anthem for NM Racing Team, Ebb Away, Mattia Braga, Racing Activities Manager for Pirelli, comes out. 3rd place trophies to Laboda and Kolutovsev, and then father and son team, Benjamin and Mauro Ricci, get their trophies as well in 2nd place in the AM class from Peter Koren there. Mauro and Benjamin very happy on the left-hand side of the podium. NM Racing Team taking the team trophy as well. And the 2 drivers with the biggest smiles on the top step, Stanislav Safronov and Alexander Weintraub. They get their winners' trophies in the AM class. A huge haul of points for them, maximum points for them here in the first race at Misano, but something that boosts them very much in the championship as well. And the fact it was in 7th place overall is a bonus for them. Some of the wise ones, the Ricci, leave the podium. 3 podiums here for the silver class. The Pro AM class that actually ended up filling the top 6 positions in the class. And here the AM. We're going to do it all again tomorrow. Let's see what the conditions are, but certainly 45 cars provide a huge amount of fun at the Misano Circus. Do join us on Sunday.